Hi guys, I'm Katlyn, and this is Melanie, and we're gonna tell you our 422 response to No Zombies Allowed. So, first off, this is when Mr. Mitchie is explaining the objectives of the class, and he says, for one thing, it's about becoming more confident about speaking up and expressing yourself, not just when the cameras are rolling, but anytime. It's about helping you realize that each of you has important things to say. It's about giving you opportunities to be creative. I really liked this quote. I liked how he was motivating his students. I liked how he was giving them that encouragement that the kids might not be always receiving at home. I think that it's important that all students have a person, like an adult figure in their life that encourages them and always pushes them to do their best and lets them know that they are important and what they want to say and how they feel is important, and that no one should make them feel like they don't have a voice or an important opinion or shouldn't contribute to what they want to. Okay, this is quote number 2. It's kind of long. This is later on in the reading. It's when the class is responding. It's when they stopped watching the Jerry Springer show, but the kids wanted to watch more. And Mr. Mitchie says, "See, I said to the class, you already know what's coming. It's so predictable. If you've seen one in this genre, you've seen them all." I could see a couple of kids rolling the word genre over in their heads. Genre. I can't remember what's genre, said Nacho. Who remembers, I asked. What's a genre? Several students began to flip through their notes. Ha ha. I know you can read something back to me. I want to know if you know it. I feel like, unfortunately, this is happening more often in classrooms where a teacher asks the students to explain something or recall something that they've studied, and instead of saying anything, they'll just want to look it up on the internet really quick or go back through their notes to say the answer instead of just knowing it off the top of their head. And I feel like this is sad and really frustrating to teachers, especially if it's something that they know the students should know or that they've talked about a lot. And I just feel like it's good that teachers say, no, just tell me what you know, don't look through your notes, because oftentimes, and especially on tests and assessments and in the real world, you're not going to have your notes sitting in front of you, you're not going to have Google at your fingertips, so it's really important that you retain the knowledge that you've learned and that you can use it for future classes in the world. It's important that you don't just study something for a test or a quiz and then forget about it. I think he's trying to say that what they've learned in this class and in all previous classes is important to remember. It's not just something to memorize and then forget about. This is quote number 3. Sorry, guys. So this is when they are discussing the Jerry Springer episode with the 13-year-old prostitute, and it says they're debating why she went on the show and their reactions. And it says, "Well, you shouldn't be laughing at it," Paloma told him. "There's nothing funny about it." "I agree," I said. "It shouldn't be funny, but they showed people in the audience laughing, and I saw some of you guys laughing too. Why is this funny?" And then it says, "'Cause it's happening to her, not us," admitted Nacho. "What if your sister was up there?" "Then he wouldn't be laughing," Sylvia offered. I'm very glad that someone spoke up and said, "What if your sister was up there?" I feel like it's a great question when you're talking about or judging something that's happening to someone else, because I feel like often people like hear stories about bad things that have happened to anyone really, like on the news or online or anything, and they're just like, "Oh, that's sad," or "I hate that that happened," but and then they just kind of forget about it or don't like really think about it anymore because it didn't really affect them or them personally or anyone that they knew. But the truth is that it doesn't make it any less worse that it happened, and just because it didn't affect you personally. I feel like when you ask people like, "Oh, what if that was your mom?" or "What if that was your sister?" or anyone or like close to you, like what if even that was you up there, I feel like it really helps put it in a good perspective that just because this isn't happening to you doesn't mean that it can't or it won't. I'm not saying I want like bad things to happen to people, but in reality it can. And I feel like when they ask questions like that, like, "Oh, what if this happened to someone you really love?" it makes people like think deeper about what happened and actually like care more and want to have a better understanding about what happened and like preventing it from happening in the future. So I'm really glad that that question was asked. This is quote number 4. This is a lot later in the article. It says, this is when they're talking about the sitcoms. Hold on. Okay, sorry. It says, "Gradually it became clearer to the kids that the lifestyle and cultural norms depicted in many sitcoms reflect a narrow slice of America. They found little in these programs that truly looked like their own experience, and while a number of them enjoyed watching the shows, there were few who thought that they were realistic." I agree with this quote very much. I think that most shows, old or even more recent shows, they are guilty of having stereotypes or presenting situations that aren't realistic, like presenting dilemmas that people today don't typically go through. It's like a lot of stereotypes. So families that are well off financially or solve problems in half an hour and then hug it out and then everything's going to be okay, but it's not realistic. Everything can't be solved with a talk or with a hug or just having a family chat and giving someone advice or saying I don't want this to happen again. I feel like it's just hard for most people today to relate to sitcoms and stories on TV because it's not the scripts aren't a good reflection of things that most people are dealing with and what's going on in the real world. So it's almost like you're watching TV and the world on the TV is like this bubble, and it's something that you can't even, relate or feel like you can use that in your life to solve something that you're going through, because it's just not realistic. My first question is, do you think that major networks such as Fox that produce television series will stop using stereotypes? Because they seem to be still using them a lot today. Sorry. My second question is, how would you have reacted to Frankie choosing the song that he did and wanting to present it to the class? My first related example to this article is that I love the show Full House. This article didn't mention Full House directly, but it reminded me of Full House when it talked about the sitcoms with the stereotypes, and it seems like family's always happy, and money isn't always a huge issue for them, and a good quote from the article that almost perfectly describes Full House is the fact that at the end of each episode there's normally a talk that resolves whatever issue is going on, or gives one of the daughters advice so that the issue won't go on anymore. And I've just always been a huge fan of the show. I think that it's funny. I enjoy watching it, and I love the lessons at the end and the hugs and resolving situations, and but I do know, I've realized, especially like now, later on when I've been watching it, that a lot of the situations that happen on the show are not realistic, like not a situation that many people today could relate to or also go through. I mean, some of them are definitely things that people can relate to, but definitely not everything. And I feel like there's still a lot of stereotypes that were in the show, and also it is a show where there's a problem in the episode, but at the end of the half hour everything's solved, or at least there's a solution, a happy ending, and that is obviously not realistic. My second related example is to when Mr. Mitchie was talking about how he really wanted to talk to Frankie about the song that he chose and like why he chose it. And it says, "My intentions were good. I intended to follow through. The year rolled on, days into weeks, into months. And there was always something that seemed more pressing. another kid or another responsibility that needed tending to first. My relation to this is that I often find myself in the same boat, not necessarily from a teacher standpoint, like thinking, oh, I need to have this conversation with this kid so I can understand where he was coming from and talk to him about why he felt that way and or just give him advice for the future. But I often find myself in this same situation. I make to-do lists all the time, and I think to myself, oh, I need to call this person, or I need to go eat lunch with this person, I need to write this person a letter, I need to send them a birthday card, and I always write it down on my to-do list, but it doesn't always happen. And then I feel the same way that Mr. Mitchie did, in which I feel like it's going to bother him probably for forever that he never pulled Frankie aside and talked to him about why he chose that song or what his perspective is on women and everything. I feel bad, but I know I'm guilty of saying, oh, I need to do this, or I meant to do this, and then I never do it, and then I always regret it. But then again, I think back to myself, and I think about how I should have made it a priority. Obviously, there's other things on my to-do list, other things that I need to get done, but it doesn't make the fact that I should have contacted this person, or I should have mailed this person something, or I should have had lunch with this person any less important. It doesn't take away the fact that we both wanted to meet for lunch, or that their birthday is not important. It doesn't take that away, and it's rude for me to not consider that and not to put them first and to just let their birthday slip by or go too long without talking to them, because I should make it a priority. I shouldn't just put it on my to-do list and then never do it, because then it's almost like, what's the point of putting it on my to-do list if I just right next to it couldn't do it or ran out of time. So I can definitely relate to Mr. Mitchie when he's in this situation and talking about how he wanted to talk to Frankie, but it never happened.